Nurses care for diverse patients in various phases of life. For instance, there is a nurse caring for a newborn child, or a nurse caring for a depressed and lonely patient, or a nurse caring for an elderly patient who can barely take care of herself, or taking care and assisting a patient to her peaceful death. As a nurse, witnessing the beginning and end of life is one of a kind experience that you could ever encounter in your lifetime. Thus, in every phase of a person's life, holistic nursing care must be rendered to enhance the overall caring and healing experience of the patient. That is, the care of the body, mind, and spirit. However, much of the attention was given to the body and mind, leaving the care of the spirit unnoticed and sometimes regarded as unimportant. And this motivates me to explore the nurse's lived experiences on spiritual care, a phenomenological study. A pleasant day to everyone. I'm Criselmer Ducanes, a nurse educator and clinical instructor from Iloilo City, Philippines. For over 6 years of my clinical and nursing academic experience, I have been exposed to a lot of circumstances within the scope of nursing practice and education, one of which is holistic nursing care. In fact, the Philippine Nurses Association regarded this as a professional responsibility of all nurses and a vital aspect of nursing care. However, nurses fall short in providing spiritual care due to pressure imposed by modern nursing, such as technical advancements, economic severity, and media scrutiny. The increasing complexity of illness and disease management and high patient caseloads add to the challenges in giving spiritual care. As a consequence, spiritual care is not consistently provided by nurses due to these emerging hindrances. In essence, these predicaments led me to explore what are the lived experiences of nurses on the provision of spiritual care. Understanding nurses' insights and experiences could be the key in addressing these issues and achieving holistic care, which leads to quality nursing care. Data processing was done concurrently using the Colysis strategy of phenomenological data analysis. 5 registered nurses from a tertiary hospital in Iloilo City were chosen purposively and determined by data saturation point. 5 major themes were derived from the nurses' experiences. First theme, spiritual care is creating connection by way of extending oneself beyond nursing care, making patients feel of the nurse's presence and building relationship with the family, patient, and God. Second theme, the healing outcomes perceived by nurses from their patients after giving spiritual care, such as mental nourishment, physical wellness, and boosting one's spirituality. The third theme, deepening one's spirituality by helping nurses attain self fulfillment, enhancing their ability to care selflessly, and creating positive change to themselves and to their patients. The fourth theme, the diversity or diverse ways of giving spiritual care by way of sharing life experiences, drawing from learned concepts on spiritual care, and offering prayers. The fifth and the last theme, nurses experiences 3 barriers to spiritual care, such as interpersonal, personal, and work-related. Here is the summary of the identified 5 themes. We have creating connection, perceived healing outcomes, deepening of one's spirituality, diversity of giving spiritual care, and barriers to spiritual care. Merging these themes led to the description of the whole structure of the phenomenon, which is spiritual care is caring holistically from the heart. In essence, spiritual care as holistic care. A graphical representation of the lived experiences of nurses on the provision of spiritual care was also made. The nurse's cap represents the diversity or diverse ways of giving spiritual care. This symbolizes knowledge, skills, and experiences of nurses in providing spiritual care. The hands represent creating connection. This means that the knowledge, skills, and experiences of giving spiritual care are translated into action, establishing a human to human connection with the patient. The cross represents nurses' spirituality. As the nurse ministers spiritual care to patients, his spirituality deepens. These gestures of giving spiritual care heals the patient's body, mind, and spirit, and these are the perceived healing outcomes of spiritual care. However, barriers are along the way, and this is represented by a wounded heart. This cannot be avoided as nurses try their best to give spiritual nursing care with full of compassion, love, and untainted intention to care selflessly and holistically to their patients. Based on the findings of this study, conclusions were drawn. Spiritual care creates connection with the patient, family, and God. The perceived spiritual care outcomes are mental nourishment, physical wellness, and boosting one's spirituality. Nurses' spirituality is deepened while giving spiritual care. Diverse ways of giving spiritual care include sharing experiences, drawing from learned concepts, and offering prayers. Spiritual care barriers are interpersonal, personal, and work related. Spiritual care is holistic care rendered by nurses to patients with compassion and love. And lastly, spiritual care is a professional responsibility of a nurse and a vital aspect of nursing care. This study recommends the initiation of spiritual care enhancement programs and trainings for all nurses and healthcare providers. The formulation of spiritual care guidelines and procedure manual and should be made available to all nursing units. The implementation of periodic assessment on nurses' professional integration of spiritual nursing care as evaluated by patients and nurse managers. Provision of incentives and recognitions which can enhance nurses' commitment and consistency in giving spiritual nursing care. Reinforcement and integration of concept, process, and practice of spiritual nursing care among student nurses in nursing schools, and further studies relative to the diverse aspects of spiritual nursing care must be explored. Overall, spiritual nursing care is not just about a professional responsibility and obligation nurses should do, but it should be a lifelong commitment to the nursing profession, which nurses dearly hold respect and loyalty. I believe that would be all. Thank you so much for your time.